Okay, I'm going to attempt to do some little demo sections of painting on this little egg gourd. And I'm just brush mixing some white, and I'm using cerulean blue on this one. And unfortunately, Plaid quit making it, so I either have to use it from a tube paint mixed with my acrylics or continue to settle for one of the other blues. It's just cerulean blue was like the most perfect sky blue, especially for the skies here in South Georgia. So that's kind of how I get the sky based in. And then I'm coming back with just a little bit of the cerulean to have the top of the sky be a little darker, mostly just for dimensional effect. I just think it adds to the pieces. I just continue working small amounts until I get a look that I like, and then once I look at it and go, nah, that's good, then I stop. So, and that's pretty good, so I'll let that dry. Now, on this particular gourd here, I haven't actually traced my little barns in. But what I did was I cut a little mask out of just some clear contact paper to where I was going to put them. And I have two. This is the larger one. And I'm going to attempt to then paint my trees around that. And so I'm using a mixture of green forest, I think it's called. I think it's about the darkest green paint that Plaid or that Folk Art has, and I have a little bit of dioxine purple or violet. I don't know color names, it's just the purple that I put on my palette, and then a little bit of yellow at the top. And then what I do is I just start kind of pouncing on the color, and then I add color as needed depending on the tree line I'm trying to create. And then you'll notice this either has to look like it's behind this one, or I'll bring it over in front of, but it's actually going to be behind. So I'm going to kind of stop going that direction for a minute. And this is the part that takes the longest because I have to kind of visualize the trees that I'm painting. So now I'm going to mix that same dark green color and red color, and using the yellow just to add a little brightness to it, I'm going to come up here and put in some of these trees in the background. And when you look out across a stand of trees, you'll kind of understand why I do some of the layering of the painting like I do it, because they're not all the same color, they're not all the same kind, and I try to pick up all those differences in the way that I do my little backgrounds. So here I've put just a little bit of an orange color, and it's not a very opaque one, so I may have to add a little bit of that yellow to it just to make it a little, there, give it a little more coverage. And so you'll see where the trees changed from that reddish in the background to having some of the orange, but you can still see a lot of the greens in there. So I'm going to go back to just the green and the yellow because I want to create just a little lighter area as it comes around the next little barn. Then as I add the different colors, you'll begin to see more of the variation again. And I just continue to do this until I get the trees like I want them. And I think maybe one more good. I'm going to tint this one with just a little bit of blue. I don't worry about white spaces so much because if you're not looking at a real thick area of trees, the white is kind of like seeing through and seeing the sky at the same time. So I kind of leave that for the illusion. So I just pick up the different colors on the brush. And I'm using an angle brush. It's a really old, scruffed out brush. And so I use tapping with the toe end of the brush, which is the pointy end, as well as tapping with the heel, which is the shorter end. So when I need to have a good edge like that, then I'll go back with just the toe end and add what I like to think of as the tree tops. And then once I get a nice stand of color for my trees, I think this here needs a little, need a little brightening up. I lost some of that edge. Then I want to finish this little section here off with this look right here. There. And then that helps create dimension all across the background. And then I'll take off these little masks, if I can get it to come off. Let's see if this will help. And it just peels off because the contact paper so far hasn't ever removed any of my paint. And so there's my two little barn shapes. And then what I do is just kind of reinforce my line where I know where to do the roof line painting and the actual painting on the sides of the barn. And then once the rest of the tree line dries, then I'll come back and I'll actually work on the barns. Now, sometimes if some of this that kind of straggles over is going to be in a place where I don't want it, I just take, while it's still damp, take a brush and just kind of scrub it off, and it gives my little tree line a more even bottom. one. So that's how I straighten that up. So I'll come back and show y'all some more about this later.